Hello and welcome to the bi-weekly meeting podcast for the OWASP Top 10 for Large Language Model Applications. If you'd like to stay up to date with our project, please click subscribe. And if you enjoy the content or have any questions, please feel free to comment and share. Now, on to our meeting.
I am time challenged. I thought my dentist appointment was at 10 and it's at 10:30. So I'm here for 30 minutes.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll let you go first then. Let me find your slide.
Okay.
Scott's done his.
I was going to say all kind of good things, Sandy. Now you have to say all the good things.
Okay. Well, it's going to be really fast.
I know. Yeah.
So do I mess up your slides? Is that what you said?
I hope not. That if you did, it was.
Yeah, this
okay.
one.
No. Yeah, that's correct.
All right. Well, let's see. Let's kick this off. Everybody, welcome to the September 11th meeting of the OWASP Top 10 for Large Language Models. Great to see everybody. Thank you for joining. We're going to kick it off with an update from Sandy because she can only stay for part of the meeting. So we'll get an update on the updates to the checklist, and then we'll go back to the top of the meeting and start from there. So Sandy, take it away.
Okay. So really, just focusing on these 4 questions in the checklist. What I'm trying to do is there's a lot of documentation out there that tells you what you should be doing, but they don't tell you how you should be doing it. What does good look like? What is the actual threat? How do I benefit from using the artificial intelligence, machine learning tools that are out there? How do I know how to test? What does good look like? What does bad look like? So the goal of this version 2.0 of the checklist is really to create a cybersecurity team cheat sheet so that you can measure and be able to quantify the risk and threat. And so as you guys probably can pick up on, this is why I'm so deeply invested in the threat intelligence group and in the red teaming group, is for those numbers so that we're able to bring that in and be able to measure pros and cons of using different models, doing different things and giving people metrics so that they can move their program the right direction. Because, as you guys have seen from my AI threat map, you're really balancing 2 threats. You're balancing the threat from the models and using the models against not using the models. And there's no absolute. That is a very wide range of risk that we're trying to measure against. So you can see on our charter, really it's a toolbox, keep things simple, point to other resources that are more equipped to handle things like laws and governance. We'll tell you that you have to be aware of it, but if you want a comprehensive list of the laws, we'll point you in different directions. I did post some information in the channel that you see posted at the very top of this page, and I am going to start coordinating some meetings. And I almost put a date in there, and I was like, no, I will soon. I'll just say soon.
All right. Questions, comments for Sandy?
They might have you sign. Did you call them?
Very useful document. I think this will help a lot, right? Because we do need a view for the larger CSO type of this thing, and it's possible that this document might help other people as well, right? Everybody might look at this document before they go to any of the other documents.
Right, Krishna, that's the goal. Really to tie all of the resources, to give people a map and tie it all together, a cheat sheet. I mean, this is going to be a cheat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember when we have companies, they say the new employee onboarding team, right?
Okay.
So in the end, everybody goes there, right? That becomes the most frequently visited site. So similar to that. So anyway, good work, and I think well needed.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Hey, just one comment, Sandy. Looking at your number 1, the threats from AI ML. We all occasionally read these news articles about some crazy deep fake thing. I actually talked to a real live CISO this week that did a real live job interview for somebody applying on his team, where the first round of interviews, somebody thought something was weird. And they had somebody a little more expertise look at it, and it was somebody wearing a deep fake interviewing for the job. And he said it was, when you were really vigilant towards it, he's like, it was pretty obvious, but if you're not, they're out there, people trying to do this. And he said, I don't know, that could have been somebody from North Korea trying to get a job on my security team.
Fascinating. Yeah. They can interview him for the one of the.
He could be on the red team.
There you go.
I think No before had like issues related to that one, right? Like a deepfake.
Yep. All
I
right.
will just say on that, I think we do all need to keep in mind and be a little cautious that there are a number of tools that will look like deepfake. And I guess, technically they are, that could be considered a reasonable accommodation. Okay, so we encountered something recently, and basically somebody was using a tool to help them appear during a video interview as if they were maintaining eye contact with the camera. Because they identify as having a disability related to being on the autistic spectrum. So I just think I hear this a lot where people are like, oh, I saw a little something, and so gosh, it must be North Korea. And that is genuinely a concern. There is North Korean agents trying to get jobs, but I don't know, I want to plant that seed for people.
Hey,
that's a really good point, Rachel, because I'm being a parent of a special needs kid. I can recognize some of those challenges, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of tools that are coming out to make it easier for folks, and so yeah, I could see how we probably need to be careful about how we characterize things.
Well, I think
yes,
getting some guidance around this topic, which I know you're going to talk about, Rachel, probably super important for these reasons. It's one of these things everybody's panicked about. And now, my comment is there's definitely some truth to it, but your comment, yeah, but you've got to be really conscious about what that means. And I think it's going to be, I think we're going to see a ton of this the next 12 months. So having some guidance from the team on it, that's awesome.
Which is exactly my point, Steve, which is, you can't it's not binary. It's not either or. You have to understand the risk and then make a decision. So perfect. You guys made my point for me on the checklist.
Yep. All right. So, hey, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about 2.0.
So Steve, can I ask a favor? Since this is September 11th, can we take a minute?
Sure.
Just for folks, just to recognize some of us for that time.
All right. And at 9:11 a.m., we will now proceed with the meeting. So, Scott, thanks for the suggestion. Good idea.
Thanks. Interestingly, I'll take one quick minute. I was going to be on that plane from New Jersey to San Francisco.
Oh, geez.
I missed it like by a few this thing. Otherwise, I would have been on that plane.
All right. Stories for another day. Scary stories. Okay, just bringing the slides back up here.
Yeah, can I ask one question?
Sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure like if there is a time for that. So the deck and then presentation before was very meaningful. I just had like a question and maybe a suggestion. How do we look at amplifying and creating awareness for this beyond, say, WASP and stuff, right? Do we have like a plan to actually do an outreach to 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 different people through our networks itself, through a strategic outreach?
So,
So
I think for each of these documents so far, what we've produced document-wise for the group is the core top 10 list and Sandy's original checklist. And I think both of those have been read hundreds of thousands of times at this point. And, we do social outreach. We definitely have found ways to get OWASP to amplify that. So I think we're getting good reach and uptake on those. One of the things is we do have this new set of documents coming out, and I think we'll see people talk about them here. So we're going to need to coordinate launch plans for those the same way.
yeah, and in fact, I set aside 30 minutes after this call to have a conversation about those launch plans for those who can be there. So yeah, we are looking to do more as we get more assets, especially. And there are opportunities now that we have sponsors in place, and we're working on collaborating across company that we can really start to do some big amplification, both within OWASP, but then also using our partners to do that.
And I believe you're measuring and capturing those stats and trends itself, right? How we are trending. Okay.
I think we have some of those in the deck later, at least the indirect ones, like subscribers and things like that. So let's get to that.
Yeah.
So, hey, I do want to talk about version 2 of the list. We've been looking at this schedule for a while. Total transparency. I think we've reached a state where, in order to get this done, we need the cooperation of, I would say, 10 smart people who've been involved with this project to get this done and close this down. But we're in a situation where some of our more ardent members are in positions in their personal life, in their professional life, where they've had challenges committing the time to get pieces of this done. This certainly includes me, and this month it includes ads. So before ads went out on his trip, which he will be on for the rest of the month, and you occasionally see him pop up on the list because he's trying to stay engaged, but he made it clear to me he's not in a position where he can drive this month. So I volunteered to step in and help drive things a bit until he gets back. So if you look at the schedule, I think what we did up through that August 1st milestone, we stayed pretty close to on track. The month of August was rough. Whether it's a combination of professional things, summer vacations, personal matters, family matters. We did not make nearly as much progress on this as we wanted. And we're in the position now where we have some draft entries. We have some good work that was done. We took a bunch of those new draft entries, we ranked them. We had a meeting where a number of us discussed how to pull the good things out of a bunch of those, how to recast some of the existing entries and some candidates for new entries. Once we got all that done, the idea was we could put this out to vote again, get a clear ranking on the top 10, focus on cleanup, get it done, get it out. At this point, I think the October 1st date has sailed. We're not going to make the October 1st date, and I hate that. As a product manager, I hate slipping schedules, but that's just the position that we're in. So I want to take a minute, do a status check here. I don't think we actually have enough people online this morning to do some of what... I realized I think I failed to push the share button. All right. Okay, now you can see the schedule. So again, through that August 1st milestone, great shape, marching along. Month of August, tough. Did not make the progress that we wanted to. So let me stop sharing really quick and bring up this spreadsheet that I posted to the core team last night. Blow this up a bit. So I'm going to review this quickly, and then I think given who's missing from the meeting today, we're not going to close on this. Oh, because I do see several people who I wanted to check in with. So we have the existing top 10. There's been a lot of discussion around some of these, some of it very, very disciplined and documented, things like the agent and plugin discussion. I see that Andy's here, so I'm hoping he can comment on that. Some of these other ones, I think are in a bit more limbo. And so what I'm going to do this week is be first off trying to assure that we have clear owners on the ones of these that we plan to carry forward and clear assignments. The other thing that we have is we have a set of things that were derived from the previous voting that were highly voted things that we decided that we wanted to flesh out. And I took this from a list that Ads had put together. He actually had 5 on the list, but some of those I think I effectively promoted into the top 10 because we know they're replacing existing top 10 entries. They're basically big evolutions of one of those. So we have these 3: system prompt leakage. This was, there was an entry put in about that ranked very, very high in the voting, and we continue to see news and debate about this topic. Then we had these 2, 15 and 16. I don't love the names of either of these because I think they're opaque, and I do think we're going to do a naming cleanup on the whole list before we ship it this time. But in essence, these were, again, highly voted things. And so I want to make sure that if these are the things we want to carry into the next round of voting, that we have a clear owner for them who's going to clean them up and make sure they're current. The other thing that came out very strongly in a bunch of the voting was things around RAG in particular. There was a lot of debate, and it was kind of on the fence about whether there was going to be an entry around RAG practices specifically, or whether that would just simply go into some of the other guidance. As I recall, the place we landed was we thought, it's probably best to just roll it in with the other guidance. But I've been talking to Krishna offline. He has some very strong ideas about what to do with this. So I'd like to see him complete this, and we'll just put it in with the next round of voting, given there was so much interest in this topic, and I continue to see it ramping up. Let's see. I see I'm getting some messages here. The bypassing system instructions using prompt leakage, that's me shortening this down to that. So I think that is the one. Aditya, did you write the one for that previously?
Yeah. Like, because like I voted it because like in the practical scenarios now, like in the LLMs I have tested in the corporate and also in the like part-time bug bounty. So like I have found vulnerabilities like where I was able to bypass the system instruction. Like for example, if the model has a instruction like where there is the model is not allowed to give a financial advice. So using that system prompt, we were able to craft a prompt like where I was able to make a model give financial advice or medical advice, or like generate a hyperlink, like in which the model was said that it couldn't generate it could generate hyperlink for that particular website only, but I made the model generate a hyperlink for the external sources, like for example google.com, or like for malicious site. So like that's the part I was talking about.
Okay.
I think
I think that's what everybody understood, and that's why this was in the top 3 voted things. Given you were the one who wrote it, are you okay to own updating that through the final version? Can I put you down as the owner on that?
yeah, sure. Like if you want me to update it, like I can update it because I was also testing for it. So like I can show you some examples also, like if you want me to, like.
Yeah. So Aditya, I'll work with you offline. I think the basic concept of this leakage basically being a vulnerability that opens up other things. That is what people were keyed in on. I think there are some things to do to make it fit the format, but I'll work with you on that. So I'm going to mark you down as the owner.
Yeah, sure, Steve.
Okay. I don't think we have John or ads. They're both in the busy camp right now. I'm going to work with them to see if we can see if they're going to have time this month to update these. If not, I'll work with everybody to find reassigned owners for these. Krishna, do you have a slide to talk about this one later? I think you were
Not
going to.
today, not today.
Okay.
I'm not expecting to talk about it.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Look, I
So my
at this
thought
point,
was, yeah,
I'm going to put it into the mix for final
yeah.
top 10. It'll go through the voting round. So start putting it together, and you and I'll work on how to cast that like we were this week.
Should we set up a channel for discussion as well, or
Yeah, go ahead, set up a channel.
That's what I was thinking, right? Set up a channel. I was going to call it, what was I? You can see my comments. Okay, can you look at my comments? I forget if you click on the comments.
Yeah, I know. I just got to get
Yeah,
something
this
out of
one,
the way.
right? No, not this one. This one, right? I was going to call it model augmentation vulnerabilities, right? So that it covers all the augmentation, this thing, and then I will write something about it. So one quick question, Steve, what is the modified dates? Just as FYI, right?
I don't have them yet. I want to make sure that I
know.
get owners, but what I really want to do is I want to get us into a 2-week sprint to get these cleaned up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's been effective for us before, and I think we got into things that stretched out a bit longer and people couldn't stay engaged for longer. So once we get clear ownership on these, I'm going to kick off a 2-week sprint. I'm going to ask people to get them updated and cleaned up, and then the next sprint will be kind of voting and commenting on them. So my intent is we kind of kick this back into high gear, but I think the thing we need to do right now is get some clear owners because it's missing in a bunch of places.
Yep. And also on a quick topic, Andy had a note which says sensitive info. That's what I also thought, right? The system prompt leakage should go into 2 other places. I don't know whether it by itself should be a new candidate number 1.
I'm pretty convinced it should be, and it was so highly voted. I think we're doing ourselves a disservice. So I think what we'd like to do is have Aditya write it up.
Mm-hmm. And
Nothing says some of those concepts can't also go in other vulns. These are not all mutually exclusive, but I think this one is a very strong candidate and it deserves to be written up and get into the next round of selection process, given it was voted like top 2 or 3.
Yeah. Agreed, Andy. Extra candidates for voting. Agreed. Yeah, that's fine. Good. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I just jump in real quick? Krishna, I would love to help you if you need help on RAG anything. I'm building a RAG platform at Twilio, so we're very sort of like into this particular area as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. I will. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say Vinny, watch the Slack. Krishna is going to set up this channel. Krishna, when you set it up, announce it on the main channel, and then Vinny just hop in. That's the way we've usually fleshed these out: is get an individual Slack channel going, and then everybody can hop in.
Yep, will do.
Aditya, can I ask you to do the same thing? Can you start a Slack channel for prompt leakage on the Slack there, and then we can have people join that to give you feedback as well?
Yeah, sure, Steve. Like I can make.
Okay, great. All right, so the other things here, I think we need to make sure we have an owner for prompt injection. I know Leon's got a new job and he's been in and out. So I'm going to try and confirm with him whether he's planning to own this. Given it's still going to rank at the top, we really want to make sure that this is updated with current examples and guidance. Same thing here on supply chain. I think at one point I had owned this, then John had taken it. But again, I think John is pretty strongly out of pocket at this point. Is there anybody on the call who wants to volunteer to drive supply chain? It's a hot topic.
If you don't need me to drive the prompt injection, because Brian and I did the rewrite that ended up getting voted.
Okay.
Right. So if Leon is able to do that and you need somebody for supply chain, I could take that.
Okay. I'm gonna if Leon doesn't do this, I'm gonna tag you for prompt injection. This one.
And I can probably support on that once I get these other 2 documents finished in the next couple weeks.
Okay. Look, I think this is one. There's a lot of documented stuff out there. I think that this one is not obscure. It's just a case of putting in the work to get some current examples in here and clean it up. So I'll work with the 3 of us and we'll figure out who takes the lead on it. Okay, Arnish says he could help with either of those, so I'm gonna add that as possible. Thanks, everybody. This is what I was hoping we were going to get done today. Sensitive information disclosure. I do believe Ads has updated the ones he owned, so I'm not as worried about those 2. So Andy, you're here, right?
I am, yes.
Okay. So I think my understanding is that you and John, the latest version of your plan was you guys were going to really double down on excessive agency. And then we were going to deprecate the insecure plugin. At one point, there was also we were going to change insecure plugin to something else. But you want to talk to what you think the plan is currently?
Yeah, sure. So my understanding of the plan is kind of as you've described there. So we augment excessive agency a little further with a bit more of a point towards some of the agent behavior, and yeah, we deprecate insecure plugin design as, I mean, they were always fairly. There's always quite an overlap between those 2 things. And I think, yeah, that overlap is only still there, and I don't think it makes sense to have 2 separate items where we can build that out into one. We did have quite a discussion over how forward-looking that entry becomes, and this is where I think John was kind of wrestling with the idea of, well, do we have a new entry that is very, very geared towards kind of multi-agent systems and agent-to-agent interaction? I think we ended up coming to the point where we're saying, actually, no, not yet. It might be something that turns into something of more significance in the future, but right now it would be a little too forward-looking. So, okay, maybe it's not an entry for the top 10, but absolutely it's something that John and I were going to collaborate on to build out some additional either paper or article or extra things that would sit alongside the top 10 or refer to the top 10 to kind of dig into those areas, but making reference to some of the other vulnerabilities as described.
Okay, that sounds good.
I have a question on that.
Go ahead.
Regarding agent to agent, I don't know like when the next time this necessarily will be updated. Would it be worth like a quick mention about it if it's not like specifically?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. In fact, I've a few days ago I pushed some updates for the excessive agency entry that's made an explicit call out to that. It is just a couple of sentences, but it is definitely a call out to that, and that's where it felt like the sensible balance was going to lie at this time.
Cool.
But it's a really
We're
good shout,
definitely
thanks.
seeing a lot of like we've been going to a lot of meetups in San Francisco, AI meetups, and we're definitely seeing agent to agent stuff being more common. And definitely like almost the default in some cases, like, assuming that the other side is going to be an agent in that case too.
Yeah, and it was as we're going through those discussions, it was something that I know John was very passionate about. He could see that, yeah, this is definitely going to become a much bigger thing in the future. I guess from my perspective, I was kind of taking things almost like back to first principles, and ultimately it's the core vulnerabilities that we have in excessive agency, in prompt injection, in information disclosure, and so on, that combine together to suddenly have a huge amount more significance when it comes to agent interaction. And again, that's why I was I was fighting the corner for, I don't think it's a separate entry. I think it's a manifestation of a number of these things kind of being exploited together. And I think that's where the value of having more of like a paper or an article that explores that in depth helps to bring our top 10 list to life. Instead of these things being considered as, oh, they're 10 completely separate things, actually there's some quite challenging attack chains when you start to combine them together.
Awesome.
Thank you.
There's one other quick thing I was going to mention whilst I have the mic. I submitted a couple of suggested changes to excessive agency. I also threw in a couple of suggested changes around prompt injection that kind of aligned with where excessive agency was going. At the moment, that's just some changes in a separate branch. But whoever ends up taking on prompt injection, please take a look at some of the proposed changes I made there, just to kind of tweak the structure a little bit and help it to tie in with a couple of these in a slightly different way. And I'm happy to help throw in my own 2 cents for all the folks that are working on prompt injection to help it continue
Andy,
to tie in nicely with the rest of these.
Did you lob a pointer to that into the prompt injection channel?
Yes, I did do that.
Okay.
That's in there from a couple of days ago. Yeah,
Can you do me a favor? Can you freshen that up so I can go find it today and make sure that I can kind of see that, and then I'll track that in with this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll at you on that message.
Perfect.
And
Okay.
let me mention one thing here too, that since we're talking about different levels of communicating, like connecting some of these together, either within the top 10 or otherwhere or elsewhere, or initiatives, we've got 3 areas to potentially talk about these things. One is the top 10, which is our primary. The other is any initiatives we create. And lastly is we do have a blog capability within the site that can help drive us to both get more traffic and more visibility around everything that we're doing. So if there are topics that we feel like are more blog centric that can help us kind of bridge the gap between the top 10 or initiatives, that's something that we can, that's just another tool. Just want to remind people that that's there.
On that, I just wanted to say, Brian and I are coordinating with you, Scott, around a release date for our deepfake guidance. I'd like to also coordinate with you a blog post. I know Brian's working on the blog post that's related to that guidance, but based off of our conversation today, I'd like to do a blog post that is specifically about this interview situation we just talked about. I happen to have studied a lot about the North Korean hiring situation from a cyber threat intelligence standpoint as well. So if we can, while I'm thinking about it, I just wanted to say that so we can get that sort of on the list of things that we'd like to produce, and we can start thinking about a date for that as well. But I think it makes sense to maybe do that really close to that deepfake guidance, and maybe even preview, hey, we're going to have a blog post that's specifically about interviews like coming up.
I love that.
That's great. Yeah, I think what we want to talk about, and we'll talk about it at in the other call, which is we want to think about this stepwise approach to how we announce things and talk about things and connect blogs and videos and kind of webinars, that sort of thing. Just be a little bit more thoughtful in how we connect those to get more visibility engagement. So that's perfect.
One more quick question, Scott. Do we want to do a set of blogs on V2 work?
Those are all opportunities. I mean, I just wanted to make sure that people understood that was a vehicle we had, although we only have a certain amount of resource and time. So that is probably our biggest value right now. So where it makes sense, I just wanted to make sure we had the ability people were aware that we had that ability. We can do blogs and we can do webinars, et cetera. So those are available.
I mean, I think I will wind up publishing a blog on V2 progress, but not until we get this back on track and get the date updated. I think once we do that, I will sort of update people on progress and what the plan is to get it closed down. So I think I own that action.
It can also do specific discussion, right? I thought maybe the new one.
Of course. And I think, again, we're a crazy open source group. There's no centralized control. If anybody wants to put up a blog, you know, you can put it on the site as long as it's reasonable and you're a participating member. You can put something up on your own LinkedIn whenever you want.
Yep. And then we can also, if you put it up on your own LinkedIn and it's linked to it and vice versa, we can promote it as appropriate. So yeah.
Okay. Just to close this out, denial of service, I got to track this down because there's been a bunch of really good discussion about how to update this, and kind of looking at denial of service, denial of wallet. There was even some discussion about whether model theft really should be kind of split up and deprecated. Model theft contained two things. One was model cloning, basically by, extracting, if not directly the model weights, extracting things so that you could clone the behavior of the model, which I think is a really interesting one and that people seem to be actually worried about. And the other one was just somebody stealing your model weights because you couldn't keep track of your own CI/CD environment, which I don't feel like is really a great entry, although Meta losing Llama in the first place was kind of newsworthy. It's not something that's happening every day. So I think we can figure out what to do with those.
I would just put my 2 cents about the model piece is we do have documented examples of model impersonation, which is very similar to like threat actors making lookalike domains, right? So this isn't necessarily that they've interacted with your model enough to take it for intellectual property purposes. They're trying to pose as a model for your company for the purposes of committing fraud, delivering malware, things like that. So if we do sort of like get rid of the model piece, I do think it's worth, there's some very specific guidance that we can provide people about monitoring for, reacting to, doing takedowns, etc., for model impersonation. So
yeah, I do feel like that's a really cool topic, and I kind of feel like that one's better in Sandy's doc than in the core top 10, just because of the nature of the audience, but we can talk about that one more.
I think there's probably something there in supply chain vulnerabilities for that, if it's a model impersonation.
Yeah. I mean, interesting. Go.
So as you say, just on the model denial of service and model theft, the last bit of the conversation I thought we got to with that was that, those are two kind of outcomes that are reached from effectively the same vulnerability or a similar vulnerability in terms of the unconstrained ability for a user to submit a whole bunch of inference requests. And there was some some good discussion on exactly how do we name that, but it almost felt like it's the same cause just materializing in a couple of different ways.
Hey Andy, if you know where that discussion is or could find it on Slack, tag me, because I think that was a really good discussion. It directly leads to what we do with these two. I just couldn't find it yesterday when I was looking for it.
Yeah, no, I will try and find it.
Okay. Otherwise, we'll recreate it. I think several of us were involved in that discussion, and we kind of remember what it meant. So, All right, look, I've taken up a lot of time here, but I think this was important. I will be working with everybody kind of throughout this week and probably early into next to make sure that we have clear owners on these things. So I will probably post something to the core Slack channel within the next 24 hours with updates for people. And then I will be reaching out to some of you with requests to help. Thanks a lot for doing that. I'm going to switch back over to the slides. We're going to get through as many of them as we can, but those of you who put in slides, I will remind you that we've burned more of the meeting than we usually would on the core piece. So we're going to have to kind of go quickly. But
yeah, on those slides that I shared, we'll go quickly on those. We won't spend much time. There's just a couple I want to highlight.
Great. All right.
So we can skip this one. This is just the reminder slide. This is my ask. The ask that came out from the last meeting was, can we start to create sort of a speakers bureau list of people so that we need people who can speak at different events? Where are you located? What are you comfortable talking about? So that we have that list. So this is follow up with that action item. There is a link here. Please go fill it out. This way, I know I was working with Sandy to see if she could potentially, attend one particular event we had coming up. She had stuff planned, etc. So if we have some backups and have some ways to kind of quickly kind of shift around, that will be awesome. So as we start to do more outreach, having an understanding where everybody is and what they can speak on and what they're comfortable with will be great. So that's my action item fulfilled. Now it's the group's action item.
All right.
Talking about outreach. So we've got upcoming outreach. We've got the event that's happening, the AppSec conference that's happening in September. Steve, you've got the session there. We do have budget, so that we'll talk about budget in just a little bit. So if we want to do a get-together event for people who are attending that are part of the project, or people are interested, we do have some budget to do that. I'll talk about budget in just a little bit. So that's there. We also have 2 sessions that we were invited to do at the InfoSec World. So in Orlando that same week. So I will go fly and do one of those and potentially both of those, unless I can find somebody to kind of help out on the second one. But we've got that going that week. I did have a conversation with the Black Hat Europe team. And they've decided that they're not going to allow us to be an association partner. Association partners mean we get stuff kind of for free. And so OWASP was previously an association partner, so I was kind of wedging ourselves in there since OWASP had backed out. So I think the back out didn't necessarily leave the best taste in folks' mouth from what I gathered in the conversations, but that's the way things happen. So we got denied on terms of doing that. So if we want to participate in Black Hat Europe, then it's, some paid opportunities to do that. So we can decide that as a group, as part of our go-to-market. Those are the prices. It's either like a small booth or the startup city kind of thing, where you just have a place and you get an opportunity to speak, but you have to sponsor to speak. Is there, as you know, for the game there for Black Hat. So we'll have to determine whether it's worth it or not, but I wanted to tee that up for folks. I don't know if there's any initial reactions. We can also continue the conversation.
Yeah, just quick comment. Black Hat US is the only conference I'd applied to in the last 12 months to give an OWASP top 10 LLM talk that didn't get accepted. So I don't know if there's something funky with Black Hat and OWASP, but we should think about if there is, whether it's something we really want to invest in, because we have enough other places that really want us.
Exactly. And so I wanted to tee that up. If we have other places in Europe, people want to say, hey, because I think we've done a pretty good job covering North America, given our timing and availability with RSA and the other conferences that have come up and asked. So things we can do to support more outreach in Europe. I'm looking for help in identifying some of those.
I'm not sure if this is on your radar, but the first conference in Europe, they have a CTI, cyber threat intelligence one. They have like an incident responder one that I'm very interested in. It's been sort of like on my radar that I want to try to get there in the next year. So maybe Scott and you and I can, would you be the right person to sort of connect about that and start a conversation offline? Okay. We'll talk about that.
Just hop over to the outreach and growth. I'm trying to consolidate stuff, hop over there, suggest it in the channel, and then we can kind of work on it from there.
All right, I'll add that, the outreach. Would you call it outreach? And
it's the very top of the slide.
Yeah, got it.
All right.
Okay. So just real quickly, so I want to thank everybody for all the inputs here on the COE document that I got, which was great. We had the date that we were closing that out last night at midnight, right? So that's technically closed for input. I'll be finalizing it, and there are a couple of people who have stuff that they were contributing that I'll reach out to individually so that we can kind of get this wrapped up. And so that will be, try to get that wrapped up in the next, this week, if not the first part of next week.
Very cool.
Next. So solution, again, lots of great input on this. The biggest challenge, of course, is finding the right buckets that everybody agrees on to put things in. And it's never the perfect buckets, but it's at least the first start at buckets. And so I think we're really close there. The other piece we have is we have the online version of this, which is I'll have a link for companies to add their criteria to as well. So that link will probably be done by the end of the week. I am bringing on another, and we'll talk about budget in a minute, but I am bringing on another web firm to kind of do operational components of us to keep our web up and running. We've had some great people doesn't mean we don't need still volunteers, we do, but I do want to make sure that we've got sort of an operational function that we can kind of rely on an ongoing basis. So this is coming. So the whole goal here is to get the document completed by the end of the month. So we pushed it out a little bit because we've got some really great feedback, and we're still resolving some of that. And if you have ideas of or knowledge of particular products and open source solutions that are addressing the top 10 for LLM risks and be used in that life cycle, please do hop into the document and just add them. We'll figure out the categories and that sort of stuff as you go. We've also done a lot of outreach, so I have a lot of companies coming back. Some pretty good-sized companies with products in the space are coming back to add themselves to it, which will also help us with sponsorship as well. So these things are connected at the end of the day, with the goal toward getting the online release out by the first week of October. So get everything updated. It won't be everything on there, but people will be able to request an ad. So there's a little button on there. You can request an ad, and then you can add your tool in there, and we can validate whether it fits against it. So this will be an ongoing resource that will be available.
All right. Did Sandy's?
Yep. This is just
you again.
Our roadmap, resources roadmap. We'll update this obviously with where we are with the top 10, and we'll have another discussion about this just following this call. But this is a link that I shared where all of the people who owns different resources, we want to make sure we have a roadmap for when you think you're going to be releasing those so that we can organize the outreach around it. So this is the current schedule. If you see dates that you want to change or need to change, please do hop into the link if you're an asset owner and update it.
Awesome.
Since we had a discussion around blogs, we'll probably need to kind of think about how we want to track that as well. But probably the best way to do it is perhaps just adding a line in here. I'm trying to keep the number of places to find things down to a minimum so it becomes easier to manage. So budget sponsorships. So we have a new sponsor. SNAC is now officially a sponsor. They are a silver sponsor. So they have also looking to share data. And so Emmanuel, you'll be happy with that. They've got a lot of customer data that they're going through their process right now and signing off so that they can provide that back to us to support the top 10. And so that may be an opportunity for some of the supply chain stuff, some of the others to get some more depth around it. So that's something that they're coming back to support. I don't know if Charlie is on the call. I know he was going to start trying to join. He's the contact we've been working with there at SNAC. There are other sponsors in process with verbal commits. On the left side is our budget. Our budget target is around 200,000 for the end of the year to help us do all of our outreach and support. We've received just almost 50K right now in sponsorship dollars. We have a view toward another six verbal commits to around another 65K. And so we'll probably get close to 100K in the next month if all the processes go forward, et cetera. Our processes are a little bit slow on the OWASP side. We're just trying to optimize some of that. But that's a little bit of the steps that we're going through. So I just want to give everybody a view toward that. Just as a reminder, what we bring in, part of the deal with OWASP to have a dedicated set of funding for a project was there is a cut that OWASP gets to help the core budget, which makes complete sense to me. So there's a 10% of what we earn goes over to support the broader cause because they support us. And then we have sponsorships as a remander. If your companies are thinking about sponsoring, obviously you know who to go to. They're also donations. So it's a donation, so it's a tax write-off. So unlike sponsoring an event or sponsoring a conference, anything you spend for sponsorship of our project is a tax write-off. So that can sometimes make it easier for people to sponsor if they weren't aware of that. Okay. Next.
All right.
I actually did not get a chance to, this is old slide, did not get a chance to update this.
Nothing from me. You can read it. There is anything new, interesting. 50 folks in 5 days. That's all.
Awesome. All right, folks. Oh, let's see. I see one hand up from Arnish.
Yeah, I think I had hand up for like 2 things, but I forgot the first one. But the second one was regarding the InfoSec one. Scott, if you need somebody to actually help you to fill in the second spot, I'll be more than happy to actually help. I just dropped you a message on Slack as well.
Okay.
Let me know.
It is part of the issue is it is in Orlando.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I'm in San Francisco. So the week after, I can be in Orlando also, right? As long as there is a round of golf I can play, I can travel anywhere. I'm just
Well, and the one thing I do want to say is because we're getting funding, we can also do some set of we have some portion of our funding that's to offset travel for speaker opportunities. So we can talk about all that stuff offline.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Aubrey.
Hi there. I joined late, sorry. Just got one thing. I've talked to a few of you already about my need for collecting any 2-minute red teaming videos that you might be able to contribute. These seem to be very, very popular for us. Anything that's red teaming related has been really nice on the YouTube. So if you have any ideas out there for something that you do in your red teaming efforts, really quick, 2 minutes, no more than 2 minutes, and let's talk. That's all I got.
I see Vinny just volunteered. So
Vinny,
go ahead and ping Aubrey.
hit me up on Slack, please. I like the heart emoji. Good boy.
Anybody else? All right. Hey, I got one thing just to wrap up. You're going to see this from me the next little bit, but this is done. Yay. If you are an O'Reilly subscriber and you go to the O'Reilly site, the final book is there for real. It's done. It's no longer early access. I am hoping to have the Kindle book up on Amazon this week and then the printed copies later this month. And I will ruthlessly abuse my position to beg with people to leave me Amazon reviews. So expect to see a posting on Slack about that. But just thanks in advance. And in particular, there's no way this would have happened without this team. Me getting asked to do this was a direct result of being involved with this group. And I had a ton of people on this group give me early feedback on the early chapters, or early feedback on all the chapters, actually. So just wanted to share that and say thank you to everybody.
Congratulations.
Yeah, good work.
Thanks.
All right. One more thing quick.
Yeah. First, Aubrey.
It's my birthday and I'm 50.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. That's
Can
all.
you tell us where the fountain of youth is you drink from?
Yeah.
I would never have guessed that age. Wow,
50.
dude.
Yeah, thanks.
Andy.
That's all I got. Did you say Candy?
Yeah, so just quickly on the slides, there are a bunch of links in the slides. Did we ever settle on how the slides get shared out or stored for
I'm
people to then get
I'm
back to
going
that?
to post a read-only link to them in the main Slack channel. Anyone view?
So one thing we might want to do too, just thinking about that real time here, is that we've got the website page that has the meetings on it where we're capturing the last few meetings. That might also be a place to just post the PDFs.
Yeah.
Of the,
I mean, Scott, if you want to do that as a regular thing, I mean, I think consider yourself blessed to do it as a way to get more content on the site. But or if you want to find a volunteer to do it.
Yeah, I'm looking for volunteers for that. So yeah,
Okay.
but because it's we have a form on the back end. All you do is fill out the form and it adds the asset and the link, and it's you don't have to know WordPress. You just have to fill out a form and it goes where it needs to go.
You're talking about the meeting link, right? I'll be happy to do that one. You're talking about the meeting slides going into the website, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have the meeting link. So there's two things to add. One is the link to the videos that we have. So our videos, I noticed, are a little bit dated in terms of the last video on that site. The idea is not to keep all of them, but keep the last 5 so that there's a last comment, and then link to the YouTube for the rest. And then lastly is to if we can start adding the assets there, that would be.
Yeah, I'll be happy to at least keep an eye on that.
Okay.
Awesome.
Because it helps me as well, right? The slides. I keep the slides in my place, in my hard drive and all kind of stuff. This is a good place to keep.
Cool. All right, everybody. Great meeting today. Thanks again for everybody's efforts. Tons going on. I think there's a lot of exciting stuff to come out from the team between now and the end of the year. So let's push ahead, get some of this stuff out in the world. Great stuff. Thanks, everybody.
And
Thanks all.
single malt from you, Steve.
Thank you.
Japanese.
Thanks for checking out our bi-weekly meeting podcast. If you'd like to stay up to date on all of the latest news for the OWASP Top 10 for large language model applications, please click subscribe. And of course, we'd appreciate it if you'd share with a friend to grow our community. We'll see you in 2 weeks.